Alright guys, what's going on? So today we have a pretty exciting video. We're actually going to be finally tackling all the roof rot and basically all the rust spots on the red Galaxie. Now as you guys probably saw, that one has a pretty trashed roof, but it's no different than the white car, really, in my opinion. And I get a lot of comments saying, oh, just sell the red car and put all the money and time in the white car, but unless you see the two cars in person, you really don't get the perspective of which one's actually nicer. The red one has a spotless, and when I say spotless, I mean absolutely spotless floor, firewall, and trunk space. The whole bottom half of that car is completely perfect. I mean, it has a couple little tiny pinhole spots over by the rear wheel wells, but that's also very normal. Whereas my white Galaxie has two completely trashed wheel wells, and the roof doesn't look like it's much better. We're gonna be finally going over and using that roof that I bought, that spare roof I went out and got. We're gonna be starting to section pieces out of it and weld it into both cars, because both cars need some roof repair before they get painted. So I went ahead and got the roof down last night. So we're gonna start off by marking out some of the damaged sections and cutting them out of the new roof, and then go ahead and start to stitch weld stuff in. So let's go check it out. Oh boy, it's another day. So I went ahead and took the back glass out. You guys can already see that, and it doesn't really get much better as I go across. You can see all the rot and the actual drip rail area right there. Mostly because it's kind of a flawed design. All the water kind of runs, and then there's like a lip where the trim sits, and all the water just pools up right there. So this always gets rusted out in these cars. I have yet to really see a Galaxie without them. They always have some sort of rot in this area. And now you can see it starts right here, and it just kind of works its way all the way across. So that's something we got to fix before the rear glass goes back in the car. I also got a good spot up in this top corner, and on that corner, that's also a common spot. And then you can see I just started taking the trim off. These clips have never been taken out of the car because I keep breaking them off as I try to pull them out. You can see I got some of these ones out, but I broke that one. I got this one off, and you can see I broke that one, and I broke that one. So it's just, I'm trying to do it without bending the trim, which I haven't really bent the trim, which is good, but these clips I'm gonna have to drill them out. I mean, they're completely broken off. You can see we got a rust spot right here we gotta fix. Coming up towards the actual seam, we have a nice spot right here we gotta go through and figure out what's underneath all this. And then the classic big fat one, the whole reason we're doing this in the first place is all this. So this is about 14 inches long or so, 2-3 inches till I get spotless metal. This is the section we're really gonna cover in this video. I mean, as you can kind of see back there, I have my spare roof, but we're gonna start sectioning out pieces of this roof. Now this one's not spotless, as you can see. There's some small corrosions, but in all reality, it's a lot better than what I have. So basically, I'm gonna be marking out kind of where I want to cut this thing out off of the other roof, take it out, and then stencil a new piece in and start sectioning it all in. God, it sucked. All right, well, I got this piece off now. And yeah, I had to take the back glass out to get this off because the screws are along right here, you can see them. There's those little screw holes right there going down it, so you gotta take the glass out. And there are no good videos or really hardly any information on how to get this back glass out. This one is the only real difficult one that I've seen. This is just a standard door. These you roll up, pop the pin, and then they pretty much just roll out. They're not too difficult, but since you got this kind of B-pillar here, you're gonna have to work with it, and it's really kind of hard to kind of finesse it out. So what I ended up doing, there's 3 rollers. There's one in the back, you can kind of see right there. There's this one, and then there's one in the front right here. So what I ended up doing is I went ahead, and when the back window was rolled down to where I could see the arm right here, went ahead and popped the center roller off so I could get rid of this entirely. So that's this guy right here that moves. I popped that one off when it was down there. I popped that one off when it was down there, and then just pulled the window up by hand out of the rails, and then just kind of wiggled it out until it popped out. It doesn't really fit very well. It kind of rubs up against the side of this. So if you have a freshly painted car, I'm not sure how you're gonna put it back in. Also not sure if that's the actual way you take it out. That's just how I got it out. There you see it there. It's probably gonna be a nightmare putting it back in, but that's just how it is. So, but we will be repainting this car eventually, so I just figured if I'm just gonna do all this metal work now, I'm just gonna take all of the trim off now. It'll just make everything so much easier, and I don't have to mask anything off, and it'll entirely be a better paint job, so I don't have to deal with any stuff that looks like that. All right, we got all our trim off, so now you can see the top pieces off, bottom pieces off. I realized a better way to get the window out is to go inward. I couldn't do that before for whatever reason. I couldn't get it in the right spot, and it didn't seem like I wanted to go. What I did is these are all the bolts for the window track. I loosened them all. I didn't take them out, but you can see they're nice and loose. So that kind of allows everything to flex a little bit. And I kind of popped it up. You can see this roller is out again, and then I kind of got the window to fold inwards instead of outwards, which makes a lot more sense. And then after that, you just kind of can wiggle it around and it pops right out. It's a lot easier. You probably noticed that in the time lapse if you watch it closely. So now the next thing I got to do is start stripping metal, but I don't have a long enough air hose, so I gotta go get one. So first, I'm gonna continue to take the trim off this car, because like I said, we will eventually be getting this epoxy primered, if not painted. I'm not gonna take the door handles off yet, because I still need to open and close the doors, but I do wanna try to get this trim off the side, and the big long piece off the quarter panel, which is a bit of a pain to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that off now. All right, my battery died, so I apologize about that. I didn't even notice, but I got this trim off. I just want to point something out. All of these back trim pieces, actually all of them, the one that goes around the headlight ring, headlight itself, and all of these pieces are all screw on. There's no rivets, there's no clips. You simply have a 3/8 nut on the one, 7/16 on the other, and then the rest of them are just Phillips head screws, and they all pop right out super easily. You're not gonna bend anything, so I don't understand. You can see that's the original champagne gold underneath. That's the original color of the car. You can really tell a cheap paint job versus an expensive one when people don't even take trim off the car. Now you can see my custom two-tone trim all the way down. Basically, I won't forget where the trim went, because anywhere the trim was, it was gold. I mean, in this particular paint job, it didn't even look like they took the weather trim or the weather stripping out of the trunk seam, because you can see all the gold that goes up and around. So it's just kind of a shame. I can basically guarantee you that none of these pieces were. They might have taken just these off. If not, they're really good at masking, but I don't know, I guess we'll have to see. But either way, I've got everything off, so now I gotta go ahead and punch all these holes out to where the trim pieces broke off. So I just punched that one out. I gotta punch that guy out, that guy out, that guy out, that guy out. So you get the point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use my hammer and punch and start punching all these things out. Alright, now I got a long air hose finally. Now we're gonna really get into the down and dirty stuff. So I have my Eastwood contour tool. This thing is awesome. Hopefully I'm gonna use this to strip most of the paint off of the car. So we're gonna go ahead and start by doing this outer perimeter of the roof line and drip rail line. So basically I'm gonna do 2 to 3 inches up and around the whole front roof of the car and strip that completely to bare metal, because I want to uncover basically any corrosion this entire roof has and fix it now rather than later. So, and then I have an air hose drug out here so I can hook up a air sander, and we'll just kind of do some of the fine touching areas and any sanding necessary we'll do as well. I'm going to strip this whole seam. There's a lead seam right here. We're going to strip that down to bare metal. You can see I started to pull some of it out right here. That hole's slowly getting bigger and bigger as I go. And yeah, you can see there's probably going to be more rust underneath here as I go. So I'm just going to kind of set the camera up and just start stripping this thing. Alright, so good news is there's a lot of good metal on this side. I don't really see any pinholes on the drip rail side of things. It starts right about here. There's a pinhole right there I uncovered. I'm sure there's another one right around here. See, there's a little bit of thin metal right here we'll probably weld up, and I'm sure it's not going to get any better as I go across. Basically, as I go down the roof and over to the other side, it's going to get worse and worse. I'm doing this side first just to kind of give me some assurance. There's a lot of filler over in this this seam area, so you can see we have our yellow filler and then the green filler, some of our fine glazed putty. So I'm just gonna strip all this out. You can see how wavy it is right here. I don't know if that's just the factory sheet metal how it is or what, but we're gonna go ahead and just kind of strip all this down as far as we can and make it as smooth as possible. So we're just gonna kind of strip all that down to the trim area. So I'm gonna keep on trucking, kind of come back when we're ready. Alright, so we got everything marked and cleaned out. So you can see all the way down the roof line. It's actually not too bad. My lead seam doesn't look too bad on this side. I thought it was way worse. So that looks pretty good. But I'm going to be focusing on the big issue with this whole roof right now. However, I noticed there's a little dent. You guys might be able to see it. You guys can probably see that line right there. So that's a little dent, like something fell on the car at some point. So before I cut it out, I gotta pull that dent, otherwise everything's gonna warp when I try to bend it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just basically use a dolly and a hammer and try to get it out, because I don't have a stud puller or any fancy body tools. I'm not a body guy. So I'm just gonna kind of try to hammer and dolly as close as I can, and then we're just gonna have to skim coat it. But I was actually surprised. There's not too much filler in this body. There's a pretty good amount down this B pillar, but it's kind of to be expected with how wavy this is from the factory. So I'm not really too upset with that. I have no clue. We might end up putting some skim coat back in it. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead and start tackling this dent. Alright, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. You can see I got most of that dent out. There still is a slight low spot. You can see it right about here, but we're cutting basically right across the top here, so it's not going to matter. But you can see that I went ahead and basically dollied out as much as I could across the top there to try to go ahead and make that line a little bit easier once I actually cut it. So we're going to go right above this and then down this way. So it'll be right above where that little dent is, and the lighting really makes it look a lot worse than it is. It's actually not that bad. As I come up, you can't even see it now. It's really not much of anything, but just something that I would be mindful of. So I think there's a couple little bits that I want to still dolly out a little bit more, but you can see it's pretty darn good. I think I'm going to be happy with that. So I'm going to start taping this off and getting ready to cut this section out so we can go ahead and get the new piece welded in.
Got a hole in your roof.
Alright, got all this cut out. There's the lead, and it kind of pulled out some metal there, which is alright. I'll be able to fix all this. I'll just kind of grind all this smooth. When I weld over it, you won't be able to see any of that stuff. So, but yeah, this is all lead. You can see it right there. The color change and the color difference is very, very, very easy to tell there. But it's not in bad shape, so I'm just going to leave it. Maybe 10, 20 years down the line, when I actually know a lot more about bodywork, I can strip this out. I'm going to actually put sheet metal in this, if it even becomes any sort of an issue. I can already tell there's a little bit of a low spot right here, so we're just going to do a skim coat over this and just... I'd much rather get the car done. Yeah, you like these freaking 6 shades? Pretty dope. Found them in the trunk of the car. Clean them up and I'm gonna keep running them. I'd rather get the car running and done and paint, like maybe primered, and then we'll wrap it or something fun. But I'd rather have the car done in a running project that I can work on later than have it sit on the side of my house and have it be a perfect concourse car that everything has to be done the right way. I'm 21 years old. I don't care about that kind of crap. I'd rather get the car done. So don't be worrying about if your job's the perfect or right way to do it. Get it done. So we got this section cut out. I'm actually really, really happy with the way that this did end up cutting out. So I cut right along this seam right here. So I basically took that panel and walked it over to my spare roof. And you can see right there, we have our test panel lined up. You can see I just got to trace everything out, and it'll be very, very simple. So not too big a deal there. We'll cut it a little bit large and then just shave it down until it fits, and I'll do the same thing back in this area. I gotta strip this one too and figure out where the lead seam is on this one, because I'm pretty sure the lead spot is different on pretty much every car. So that's something I'll have to look into. But I'd say this segment's kind of done. This is our disassembly. There isn't really any welding we have to do on this side. You can see the whole side of this roof is actually really, really good shape, which I was surprised about. I have a tiny little pinhole that starts right here. And that's about all I got to deal with. So I'm really, really happy about that. We got to strip that, and then you can see there's a spot in the roof I got to do. But really, overall, not bad. I'm very, very happy with this. I can't complain with this. I mean, it is a California car, and those don't rust, apparently. All right, well, there you guys have it. That's kind of our part 1 of this series. I know a lot of you guys on my Instagram were telling me that you guys really wanted to see this whole process. I'm no bodywork guy by any means. I'm not a professional metal guy either. I have done the floor pans on my F100. I did a perfect butt weld on those. I did it the right way, and everything came out good there. So I was confident in thin sheet metal work, so we're going to try the same on this one. However, on this, it has to be perfectly level. Otherwise, you will see it under any sort of paint. So we're going to do the whole skim coat, filler, glaze, sanding, blocking, the whole 9 yards. We're going to be doing it. I'm going to be showcasing it for you guys every step of the way. So like the video if you did enjoy. Let me know what you think down below. Part 2 will be my next video. I'm going to be working on it tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have everything at bare minimum tacked in on those 2 spots. I'm going to run down to the metal supply place in the morning, go grab some 18 gauge so I can fix some of those flat spots, and then I'm going to go get a bunch of 2x2 tubing and some dollies and make a little cart, because we're about to pull the body off of this car. So there's a lot of stuff you guys stay tuned for. Like the video if you did enjoy. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Share it with a friend. It would really mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.